Hello, I'm Don Mitchell. Welcome back to 2000% Living, the book that enables you to be much more fruitful for the Lord, to be filled with more joy, hope, peace, and patience, and kindness, and goodness, and mercy. So today we're going to be talking about Lesson 7, which encourages you to design and implement a valuable 2000% solution. And I'll be explaining in just a minute what that is. And in the process of doing so, you're going to be learning to identify bad thinking habits, how to eliminate and then replace those bad thinking habits with good ones, and to design and implement ways of serving others in God's behalf in a highly fruitful fashion. Let me begin with a quote from the New Living Translation from the Bible from the book of Romans, chapter 12, verse 2. Don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Let me start by repeating what I wrote in the introduction. Many people can develop their first 2000% solution, which is a way of accomplishing at least 20 times more with the same or less time, money, and effort, or the same results with 1/21st the time, money, and effort, with between 60 and 120 hours of reading, study, and work. If the improvement area is an important one, the increased performance gains from the solution will easily repay the time, money, and effort that were invested in developing it. You can learn to identify your bad thinking habits and to replace them with good ones, and learn how to develop 2000% solutions by reading, answering the questions in, and applying the 2000% Solution, a book I co-authored in 1999, as well as the 2000% Solution Workbook, which I co-authored in 2005. You can obtain free electronic copies of these books by registering and then confirming your registration by replying to the email that's sent immediately. Be sure to check your spam folder at www.2000percentsolution.com, 2000percentsolution.com. I look forward to sending those free copies to you. I find that most people who learn about creating 2000% solutions have one of the following four reactions. First, that's not possible. Second, I can't do that. Third, that sounds interesting. Let me try it on something small. Fourth, that would be great. Let me apply it to my biggest opportunity. I address each of these reactions the remainder of this lesson. If you don't have any of the first three reactions, skip the next three sections. Otherwise, just read those are the first sections that address your reaction or reactions. In any case, be sure to read the fourth section. So I begin by talking about how 2000% solutions are readily available. Here I'd like to once again quote from the New Living Translation of the Bible, in this case the book of Mark, chapter 9, verse 23. What do you mean, if I can? Jesus asked. Anything is possible if a person believes. When first creating a 2000% solution, many people report discovering that their solution could have been implemented any time during the prior 50 years, but no one had. Why is that? Let me tell you a story about a company to help explain such delays. One of my former students works in a business where 95% of the ingredients were once discarded at the end of the production process. That's like taking a piece or two of a large wedding cake and then throwing away the rest of the cake. The organization first called the unused ingredients waste and dumped the material into the ocean. A new treaty in the 1970s prohibited this kind of dumping, and this waste instead went into landfills. Environmental laws were later enacted that made it more financially attractive to do something else with the waste, and the leftover ingredients were turned into byproducts that didn't have much value. The student redefined those used ingredients as products and discovered that with a little upgrading they became valuable forms of organic fertilizer that many were anxious to buy. The student soon developed a large fertilizer business and was successfully making similar upgrades of other manufacturers' waste into valuable products. From this perspective, the student learned that many people only pay a lot of attention to products, seldom focus on byproducts, and hardly ever examine their waste. Similarly, people pay a lot more attention to creating and implementing 2000% solutions than to efforts to meet the annual budgeted profit increase of 10%. Why? It's much more exciting and rewarding to develop 2000% solutions. Let's look at some other aspects of human behavior. A parallel observation of Pareto's law, referred to by many as Paretos Principle, or the 80-20 principle, meaning that 80% of the results can be observed to come from 20% of the people performing an activity, states that 80% of the results of any economic activity come from 20% or less of the efforts. Let's look at an example of this corollary to see why 2000% solutions are naturally abundant. Imagine that a business has 100 salespeople selling 100,000 units a year. Consistent with the parallel observation to Pareto's law, 20 of these salespeople produce sales of 80,000 units per year, while the remaining 80 salespeople produce total sales of only 20,000 units per year. The most productive 20 salespeople average selling 4,000 units per year, while the 80 less productive salespeople average sales of only 250 units per year. The 20 most productive salespeople create on average 16 times 4,000 divided by 250, the average of the 80 remaining salespeople. Increasing the performance of the remaining 80 salespeople to what the most productive salespeople accomplish would be a 1,500% solution. Within the group of 20, some salespeople are undoubtedly more productive than the others. Let's assume the most productive salesperson produces annual sales of 7,000 units. That amount is 28 times what the 80 less productive salespeople average. The less successful, the less productive people can move to the productivity of the most productive salesperson. That's a 2,700% solution. Within the group of 80, some are less productive than others. Let's assume the least productive salesperson who won't be fired for poor performance sells merely 100 units per year. That person could match the most productive salesperson. That would be a 6,900% solution. The nature of which customers are served may have something to do with why these two salespeople vary so much in productivity. But if the least productive salesperson can increase performance to even half the average of the most productive group, that's still more than a 2,000% solution for that person. Let's also assume the company has a more effective competitor where the most productive salespeople sell on average 10,000 units per year instead of 4,000 units per year. Within that group, let's assume that the most productive person sells 18,000 units per year. If some of this success is based on selling methods that the least productive person in the first company can emulate but doesn't use now, that relatively low-performing salesperson would only have to capture 1/8 of this most productive competitive salesperson results to achieve a 2,000% solution. In addition, there are probably better performing salespeople in other industries who can also show the lowest producing salesperson in the original company how to improve. By drawing on those examples, the least productive salespeople could expand their productivity further. It's also true that few of the top performing salespeople are using identical methods. As a result, you can combine highly productive techniques from different top performing salespeople to exceed the performance of even the most effective salesperson. Likewise, 20% of the customers will produce 80% of the earnings for the company. So it's as important whom you sell to as it is how effectively you perform. Some organizations will find that their highest volume salespeople are mostly bringing in business from relatively unprofitable customers. As a result, the most profitable best practice may be found among a so-called average performer who only produces high margin sales. Cross-fertilize the methods of the high volume salesperson with a high margin one, and you could increase the profit productivity of sales efforts a great deal more than by 2,000%. There's also hope for improvement from other sources. The parallel observation of Pareto's law also applies to every other activity that a person does in a company. 20% of the employees will produce 80% of the results. By learning from the best inside and outside the company and combining those lessons in new ways, the most productive employees can further improve in all aspects of what the company does. Beyond that, there are always new best practices under development. By learning about those possibilities for improvement from articles and experiments, even greater gains can follow. At Mitchell and Company, the management consulting firm I direct to help leading companies create the next generation of best practices, we measured a large number of companies performing the same activities, see how each company's effectiveness compared to its competitors. Much like what the parallel observation of Pareto's law suggests, companies were highly effective compared to other firms in only a few areas, usually less than 5% of their most important activities. Companies were about as effective as the average firm in approximately 30% of their important activities, and these same companies were well below average in the remaining important activities, or about 65% of those. That research means that more than 95% of the important activities in each of these companies were certainly ripe for 2000% solutions. On closer inspection, of course, it could be the case that all important activities in a given company could be improved by 20 times. When the same observations are applied to individuals, the room is even more enormous for making 2000% solutions in all areas of life. That's because the performance gaps among low, average, and top performers are greater across all people in all activities than they are among the smaller population of different companies doing a few important activities. If you doubt that, just compare your best performance to what the world record holder can do in some of the areas that matter to you. If you're a runner, consider how fast you can run 200 miles, a distance some ultra runners accomplish at a pace not too much slower than what many marathon runners achieve in the shorter 26-mile race. Keep in mind that in many cases, even the world leader in important activity is using at least some obsolete practices. So now let me talk about why anyone can create a 2000% solution. This time I'll be quoting from the NAS translation, in this case, 2 Corinthians book 12, verse 9. And he has said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for power is perfected in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, I will rather boast about my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may dwell in me. Many people start working on creating a 2000% solution without any expectation that they will succeed. When asked why they doubt their ability to succeed, they often describe problems they've had when they were in school. Past difficulties, learning how to do other things, what they don't know now, or obstacles that have frustrated them for years. After a few weeks of successfully developing a 2000% solution, every one of these doubters will confidently state that they can create more 2000% solutions and that anyone else can as well. What happened between the start and finish to change those expectations? First, they learned what their bad thinking habits were that were holding them back and how to eliminate those habits. Second, they easily began to use better thinking methods. Third, they found that there are lots of resources and people available to help them engage in whatever it is they found to be difficult about the 8 steps in the 2000% solution process. Fourth, they discovered that they already knew hundreds of examples of individuals and groups performing perfectly and could easily understand and explain how to duplicate those successes. If you ask people how to do something they've never done before and have not yet seen anyone else do, most of those you ask will draw a blank in their minds, leaving them passive and feeling discouraged. A person's belief that he or she cannot create a 2000% solution is usually based on drawing such a mental blank about the opportunity. They don't yet have a solution strategy, assume they can't locate one, and don't know that the process contains a simple solution developing strategy that anyone can use. These people need to read and answer all the questions in the 2000% Solution Workbook, a resource designed to break down the solution process into tiny, simple steps to cumulatively build the experience of applying new and better ways of improving performance. What if you don't have the time? After applying the processes described in lessons 4 and 5, you won't be able to use that excuse any longer. What if you don't have much education? People who didn't finish elementary school have been able to create 2000% solutions by working with people who could help them research the future and ideal best practices. What if you don't have much experience with the problem? That's probably an advantage because you will be more open-minded about what's possible. Just be sure that you take whatever time is required to learn about future and ideal best practices. What if you can't discipline yourself to follow the process? That's no problem. You can hire a coach or ask a friend or relative to perform the same role for free to keep reminding you to do the next step, whatever one that is, and to praise you for whatever you have done so far. What if you can't bear to work alone on 2000% solutions? That's no problem. You're not required to create these solutions by yourself. In fact, you may find that you will develop better solutions when you work with others who complement your experience, skills, and interests. In some cases, people learning the process have worked in groups containing as many as 20 people and made rapid progress. What if you cannot overcome procrastination due to the steps, even with coaches or helpers? Well, then hire someone to run a public contest that invites others to compete, developing a solution for you, and offer attractive rewards for success. While thinking about hiring someone to run the contest, keep telling yourself, hesitate to procrastinate. Next, let's look at the value of a 2000% solution and how it's positively related to the size of the problem. This time, going back to the New Living Translation, I'd like to quote from the book of Numbers, chapter 26, verse 54. Give the larger tribes more land, and the smaller tribes less land, each group receiving a grant in proportion to the size of its population. Some people choose to work on a small problem with small benefits for creating a 2000% solution because they wrongly think there's much less work involved. My experience with creating 2000% solutions, the time involved has little to do with how substantial or insubstantial the benefits are. In addition, the difference in the time involved for creating one 2000% solution for a simple problem versus a solution for a more difficult problem is rarely more than 60 hours. However, the people who want to do less work are right in thinking that more time is usually involved in implementing 2000% solutions that have larger benefits. Since the practical benefits from those implementation efforts are enormous, however, no one will hesitate to make the implementation commitment for a 2000% solution with large benefits. Some other people opt to work on a 2000% solution for a small problem because they think it'll be easier to do for whatever hours are involved. That belief is also mistaken. Larger problems are more likely to attract the interest of other talented people. When that happens, it becomes easier to involve still more people who can be helpful. As a result, the difficulties involved in your personal efforts may be drastically reduced. Yet other people decide to work on a small problem for creating a 2000% solution because they perceive they will encounter less opposition to change. That perception can often also be mistaken. Instead, organizations are very likely to resist on working on problems that won't make much difference. Show people a way to make a huge breakthrough in an important area, and those involved immediately begin to perceive that recognition, promotion, and tangible rewards are likely to become theirs. Everyone will want credit and will line up to be supportive of the successful solution. Still, other people choose small problems with small benefits because they simply don't take the time to calculate what the benefits might be before selecting what they work to improve. In my experience, this mistake is often related to not realizing that the size of the potential benefits from solving different problems varies quite a lot. Problems also don't come with labels attached that say how much a solution is going to be worth. As a result, you have to do some work to estimate what the big benefits are. Start by simply calculating what it would mean to accomplish 20 times more with the same resources. That quantification may be enough to steer you away from working on at least some small benefit solutions. Some other people pick small problems to solve because no one cares very much about those problems. These problem solvers reason there's no risk of offending anyone by exposing a gross inefficiency in what has gone before. In my experience, that's a poor reason to pick a problem. After producing a 2000% solution, I've never seen an organization go back to chastise or punish the person who followed the old solution previously. Instead, people turn away from thinking about what occurred before because a 2000% solution dazzles the mind and senses so much that negative thoughts are pushed aside. Now let's talk about the idea of the fourth one I spoke about in the beginning, to first create the most valuable 2000% solution you can. This time, once again from the New Living Translation, I'll be quoting from the book of Revelation, this time chapter 2, verse 19. I know all the things that you do, and I can see your constant improvement in all these things. No matter how big the dreams are that God sends you to accomplish, you'll create the opportunity to exceed them all in reality by developing and implementing a highly valuable 2000% solution. Here are some of the reasons why. First, you will build your problem-solving and implementation abilities and reputation faster. Second, you will sooner develop the knowledge and experience to repeat 2000% solution success as often as you like with great solutions to other problems. Third, you can teach all those you work with what you know, and they can create as many highly valuable 2000% solutions as they want. Fourth, you can also teach all those with large problems who you serve how to solve their own problems with 2000% solutions without your help. Next, many people who don't yet know how to make 2000% solutions will seek you out and offer whatever it takes to gain your assistance. You can acquire assets, businesses, and resources that will be greatly improved in value by 2000% solutions and exponentially expand your financial value in short order through implementing such solutions. Next, your advice will be sought by many people whose actions you would like to influence. After that, you can use your expertise in creating 2000% solutions to enter into activities and fields that interest you, but would normally be closed. Whenever you are satisfied with what you've accomplished, you can apply the 2000% solution process to reduce by at least 95% the time, money, and effort you put into activities that you cannot avoid, but would like to minimize. Finally, you will leave a heritage of accomplishment and knowledge for your family that's far more valuable and desirable than diamonds and pearls. In the next lessons, I spell out how to build on your first 2000% solution to gain many of these benefits. Before leaving this lesson, be sure to take note of which benefits from the preceding list are most attractive to you and keep them in mind while you listen to me or read the next 7 lessons. So thanks so much for your attention and for your interest in creating 2000% solutions and being vastly more productive for God. So I'll say goodbye for now, and I'll talk to you soon. May God bless you. Bye-bye.